Today, lads, we're going to be talking about Caitlin Clark and Unrivaled.
And it looked like the Unrivaled CEO has broke his silence about Caitlin Clark turning down their offer.
The CEO of Unrivaled just released a bombshell regarding Caitlin Clark. The information that was disclosed reveals dark secrets that are kept behind closed doors. This story won't be covered by sports networks. Deals worth billions of dollars are falling apart, and players are abandoning ships. Despite the disarray in the women's basketball scene, there's more. Every basketball fan will be shocked by the truth that is lurking beneath the surface. Let me show you what's actually going on, because I've discovered information that might terminate careers.
I think Unrivaled would be incredibly dumb if they're not doing whatever they can to try to get Caitlin Clark in for next year, because look, she's not going to be playing this year. But you just never know. She might just decide, you know what, screw it.
The secret is finally out, and it's bigger than anyone could have ever imagined. The CEO, Alex Bezel, broke his silence about Caitlin Clark, and believe me, what he revealed changes everything we thought we knew about women's basketball. Before we dig into this bombshell, you must realize that this isn't just about $1 million deal anymore. We're talking about the complete transformation of women's basketball as we know it. I've spent the last 48 hours researching every detail of this story, and what I discovered will shock you. The CEO, Alex Bezel, went on record, and his words sent shockwaves through the entire sport industry. But the really interesting thing is that what he didn't say is what has everyone worried.
Now, it looked like the Unrivaled CEO, Alex, definitely did an interview when he spoke about Caitlin Clark. Last time we talked about Unrivaled, Kelsey Plum was the latest player so far to drop out of this Unrivaled League. The news shook the world. Everybody was shocked by it. I'm here to tell you, it was definitely surprising.
Let's break this down piece by piece, because there is a lot going on here that the mainstream media isn't covering. First, we need to discuss the infamous expansion from 30 to 36 players. They're trying to convince us that it was all about Alyssa Thomas, but I've worked in this field long enough to know that when something doesn't add up, you don't just restructure an entire league for one player. That's not how this business operates. The timing of everything is what really got my attention. Think about it. When Kelsey Plum makes that shocking announcement about leaving, the league suddenly expands. I have sources inside the organization who tell me that this was a last-ditch effort to preserve face. The league was depending on these big names to attract fans, secure sponsorships, and legitimize their entire operation. So now they're frantically.
Alex is definitely trying to save face, because he's letting it be known, they did everything they had to do to possibly persuade Caitlin to come. They did everything they did, to get her to come to this league. But unfortunately, like we ultimately know, Caitlin Clark's team released a post to ESPN stating that she will not be taking part in the Unrivaled League this year.
Let me give you an inside look at what's actually going on here. The $1 million offer made to Caitlin Clark wasn't just about getting her to play. It was also about her survival. The league had already begun taking action based on the presumption that she would be present, and we're talking about enormous marketing campaigns, sales of merchandise, television commercials that all focused on Caitlin Clark as the face of Unrivaled. But this is where things start to get really interesting. According to my contacts in the television industry, TNT is currently freaking out over the media deal they signed because it was predicated on projections that included Caitlin Clark's star power. Without her, the numbers don't look nearly as appealing, and we're discussing possible renegotiations, updated expectations, and a few really anxious executives.
And I believe at this point, they're in a heap of trouble, dog. TNT gave them a media deal for this league. It was selling a bunch of tickets prior to all this information came out about Caitlin. And ever since then, it's just been looking real bad for the Unrivaled.
When the CEO told The Ringer that they respected her decision and hoped to see her next year, he was merely trying to control the situation. Let me tell you what's really going on. According to people close to the negotiations, the talks were far more difficult than they were portraying. There were contentious debates, several offers, and even some last-minute compromise attempts.
It reported that Unrivaled boss confirms Caitlin Clark's decision at the Breakaway League leaves spot open for WNBA star. Caitlin Clark's decision to skip the inaugural season of Unrivaled has now been confirmed by its president. And so, just like I stated, man, Alex definitely is confirming that, they spoke to Caitlyn team. I don't know if they spoke to her specifically, but he claiming that she ain't want to take part of this.
Let's now discuss the global perspective that isn't being covered because everyone is just interested in the domestic effects, although this tale has several facets. International markets are keeping a close eye on this issue. I've heard rumors that European teams are planning sizable bids for WNBA players, seeing this as their opportunity to jump in while the market is still uncontested. The league had secured partnerships, sponsorships, and investments based on their projected roster. Now, all of those deals are being reevaluated. I've seen some of the numbers and, trust me, they're not pretty. What's even more worrisome is the impact this is having on other players. The financial ramifications of this situation are staggering. Agents are telling me that their clients are becoming anxious after witnessing what transpired with Clark Plum and Wilson, and they are beginning to doubt their own commitments, which might result in a large. It's especially intriguing that no one is ready for the WNBA viewpoint. The Indiana Fever believed they had struck gold with Caitlin Clark, but now they find themselves embroiled in a power struggle. Serious league-level discussions are taking place regarding how to handle this situation. Should they establish their own off-season league or collaborate with already existing organizations? Executives up at night, let's go back to that interview with Alex Bezel because there's a lot more to discuss. When he attempted to justify the expansion as being about Alyssa Thomas, he conveniently omitted some important details. The league had been organizing promotional events, photo shoots, and media appearances that were all focused on players who wouldn't even be there. The player safety aspect of this whole situation is something we need to discuss because one of the primary selling points of Unrivaled was preventing players from having to travel abroad. But now that the league's future is in doubt, players are faced with some difficult choices. Do they risk going overseas, or do they skip the off-season completely? These are genuine worries that have an impact on real careers. Another significant issue that is not receiving enough attention is the league's financial structure. I've seen documents that demonstrated how much Unrivaled was depending on star power to propel their business model. Without these players, the league's entire economic foundation is at best precarious. What's happening now is a last-ditch effort to preserve what remains of their original vision. They're attempting to fill these roster spots with other players, but the damage may already be done. The prestige, the excitement, the momentum, all of it is taking a huge toll. What keeps me up at night are the long-term effects on women's basketball. We're witnessing a possible paradigm shift in real time. Despite all efforts to modify it, the conventional model of players boosting their WNBA revenue abroad may be here to stay, and that's not necessarily a good thing for the growth of American sports. The coming weeks will be very important. There are speculations that there will be more announcements soon, more player decisions, and more behind-the-scenes actions that could change the direction of women's basketball. The CEO may be attempting to provide a positive image, but the truth is much more nuanced and worrisome. Let me explain some shocking new information that has reached my desk. My sources at TNT have given the actual viewership forecasts they were working with. We're talking about anticipated numbers that would have been comparable to some NBA regular season games in the absence of Caitlin Clark. Those estimates are being cut by 40 to 50%. That is a comprehensive recalculation of the league's value, not merely a minor modification. Additionally, I have internal records that demonstrate the sponsorship agreements that were in effect. Big brands we're discussing the league's top stars were the focus of entire marketing campaigns, product lines, and national advertising blitzes, and Fortune 500 businesses had committed millions of dollars based on the unmatched star power that was promised. We need to discuss the ripple impact in college athletics. I've heard from NCAA coaches that their players are closely monitoring the situation and that their hopes of playing in America all year round are beginning to fade. Right out of college, top prospects are already inquiring about international opportunities. Let's take a moment to discuss the numbers. Unrivaled's original business plan was predicated on a 3-year growth forecast, with the goal of building credibility with celebrities like Caitlin Clark in year 1. The player base would grow in year 2, and international growth would occur in year 3. However, the entire time frame is currently in doubt. The state of the institution is worse than anyone has claimed. The league relied on star power to negotiate better terms, but without it, they are facing higher prices and fewer options. I have seen the contracts for practice venues, and many of them are still unsigned. The insurance ramifications are something that no one else is discussing, yet some intended host cities have already backed out. Participating in several leagues leads to challenging coverage problems. Due to coverage gaps between leagues, athletes are being pushed to assume greater personal risk than ever before, which could endanger their careers. The influence on social media has been astounding. When comparing the engagement numbers before and after Clark's decision, my team found that the anticipated social reach had decreased by more than 60%. That's a loss of millions of viewers and possible fans. The algorithms are already changing such that viewers see less unique information. International leagues offer comprehensive lifestyle packages in addition to financial compensation. I'm referring to opulent apartments, private chefs, and personal drivers. Some European organizations are even offering academic benefits to athletes who wish to study throughout the season. Those privileges are unmatched.